I don't have much to talk about this week because I'm just going to keep this pretty brief. The camera, as you've probably seen on some of these lives, sometimes goes out, but there is a. Okay, sweet. So, yeah, there is one thing that I do want to discuss that I just saw on my preferred amusement park and theme park and attraction website, that being Screamscape, that Six Flags former CEO Matt Ouimet has made an announcement, or just like a little blurb on LinkedIn, about the reasoning behind why he left prior, or he retired prior to the merger of Six Flags and Cedar Fair. And I think it really ties in a lot to some of the reaction that's going on with regards to my completely objective video about Alpen Fury, which just got posted. So, needless to say, he didn't have many good things to say about the merger and where it's headed. In fact, he said that it was a direct contradiction to where he saw the original plans for Cedar Fair and his vision for that company should be going. And the key element that he discussed in that particular comment or commentary or brief commentary that he posted was that it's the shareholders of Six Flags Entertainment that are taking the precedent, or are the priority amongst that business going forward. And I say this because I think I touched on it in another live just recently, but it's a dangerous time, I do think. I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy, as I've already been claimed to be today. But the bottom line is that I am afraid of a generic and more pedestrian, no pun intended, offering from this company post-merger. So I'd really think that the vision of what Cedar Fair was, and it being sort of at the forefront of what most of us enthusiasts were looking for when it comes to amusements, entertainment, thrill rides, family entertainment. I really do fear, we used to mock Six Flags in the past, but now we can't really, because a lot of our beloved theme parks are now under their profile. But at the same time, I think that with them having basically pulling the reins as far as this merged company is concerned, it definitely seems like Cedar Fair and their philosophy has been literally pushed on the wayside. And some of the people involved, as Matt Ouimet said in his statement, that they are now being shown the door, unfortunately. So this is really the new era where it comes down to, yes, there is a monopolization in the theme park industry in North America and the new amusement park industry. But while hopefully we don't, and it's apparently not going to happen, at least this year, we're going to be seeing any closures. It's a scary time. I don't know if if you bring up a family and you want, say, value and aren't really looking for high-end thrills and things that really test the boundaries of technology and where amusement entertainment can go. Yes, and I did say this while there was no sound, but yes, please put some comments in there. So I'll definitely try to get to them on this brief one too, so we can talk a bit. We'll probably not go 2 hours for sure, as I got some other things to do tonight, but at the same time, I'll try to get everything I can in. But I did say it offline, but this is the new studio. So yeah, it looks a little barren, but look for this to look a lot more polished and better lit. That's for sure, because I literally set this up in just a matter of minutes as I just got everything ready. But this sign, that's not going anywhere. It's followed me around many places. But yeah, I'm very fearful that the company, even Six Flags back in the early 2000s, was, breaking new boundaries when it came to family and thrill entertainment. And even though there's always been a bit of a vibe associated with that company as far as it being a little bit more schlocky, let's say, than something more polished than what, say, Herschend does or Cedar Fair had done in the past, it does seem like that's the overall emphasis. That's going to just be the overarching mentality going forward, is that we're just going to try to give the most affordable thrills from a cost standpoint to families predominantly. we'll definitely see that if the replacement, say, for King Ka ends up being a much tamer thrill coaster than what we all had beloved, even though it wasn't really beloved until suddenly it was announced that it was going away. Um, yeah, it's a different time. I honestly don't think that Top Thrill 2, for example, would have ever been greenlit by Six Flags as it currently exists today. But yeah, it's really kind of it makes me wonder, how long will I be kind of, going to these parks after, say, the next couple of years, once I probably get them all in. There might not be much for me to pull me to, say, a park from afar, because there's just not going to be any attractions that are really going to be on the level that would bring people like myself or most enthusiasts out to those parks. Even Wonderland with Alpen Fury, I'm pretty sure that project was completely greenlit and already was definitely in the production phase by the time that the merger had come into place. But I think maybe, you never know, maybe their budget was constrained at the last minute, which is part of the reason why they had to move on from, say, B&M and go to Premier for the construction of that coaster. I do know someone who worked for the park at the time in their media department, and he was even shocked post working at Wonderland that B&M was no longer the contracted manufacturer supplier for that ride. So yeah, it's a bit underwhelming, let's say. But I just feel like these are conversations that need to be had, because there are a lot of channels out there, and I don't, fault them at any point for the direction that they go. But they're not really dealing with some of the deeper issues and the observations that I'm noticing. Even just having gone to Magic Mountain recently and having just ride availability be at probably its worst that I've ever seen in a major theme park, or what is considered one of the best theme parks in the world. So, or at least so they claim. So yeah, interesting. Definitely check out that post from Matt Ouimet. It's on his LinkedIn, and it's interesting. I think it's prescient of things going forward. So I'm going to try to be positive now, because I think that people are getting a little rough under the feathers with my, it's not an Alpen Fury review, but I did say I try to provide some positives. So I don't really take the criticism for being too negative in that particular video, because I did have some positive things to say that I originally had said negative about that project. There is some definite glowing positives. Like I said, it does look nice in the park. I'm glad that Alpen, the section now in the park, has really been brought back to life with the inclusion of that massive station. I do worry about ride wait times. I think everyone, it's kind of like that's an old subject. Everyone kind of knows what's going to go on with that. But if you're at the park and you do go to Wonderland on busier days, there is a sense of / entitlement among certain people that go there, that don't want to wait in line, that have white papers that they waive and basically skip the line. And that's going to equate to longer wait times for everybody overall. And for those of us that just want to follow the rules and the standards of what waiting for a queue is, yeah, it's just not going to be a great situation, I don't think. All right, I'm going to look at some of your comments here. And yeah, so no news still on Marineland. May 24 has just passed. It is the traditional weekend of which the park opens, and it has not opened or even has an inkling of opening yet. I am planning to go to Niagara. I was actually planning to go today, but the weather has just not been so great. So I'm going to be going in a couple days or the middle of next week. I'll probably stop by the park just briefly, just to check it out, to see what any development is going on. I do see some channels. It's funny when you follow the rules and you try to be respectful of people's property and stuff like that. Yeah, there's definitely people that are going to that park and posting content from them trespassing and standing on the tracks of Dragon Mountain and stuff like that, which you're never going to see here. I don't think that's really appropriate. I think that's just part of our generation now. But yeah, it would be horrible if somebody injured themselves trying to, get that kind of content And really, they should just be respectful of the fact and wait to see what happens, because I'm sure Dragon Mountain will probably open again. If it does open this season, I'm pretty much going to marathon it, because I just don't know how much more time it has left in it. If the park is struggling to maintain even just a theme park overall that can open to the public. So I would say get your rides in now if they do manage to open. But we'll see. Last year was a definite, it was definitely a transitional year for the park. So we'll see what happens when it comes down to that. But hopefully we'll get some news soon, but it's just been completely off the radar. No one really knows anything. First, we got some news that there might be a sale coming down, and now nothing is happening. It's going to be something to watch for sure, but it does really pain me to kind of realize, and this gets back to my original point, that in Canada, if you live in Toronto, you're spoiled, as you do have Wonderland to enjoy. But if you live anywhere else in the country, it really is a tough go, because you don't really have much to offer. Even in areas or metropolitan areas that have a theme park or amusement park available, like Callaway Park in Calgary, Playland in Vancouver, and of course, Laurent. All of those parks, with the exception of Playland, haven't seen any major investment. And even Playlands, I don't know if you'd really consider that a major investment in the recent past. So they have to come to Toronto in order to, if you're not going to go outside of the country, you have to go to Toronto in order to experience a world-class or an upper tier theme park. And that's kind of tragic for what is, from my youth. We had half the population when I first started going into these parks and becoming fans of them, and there was a lot more on offer, say, even at Galaxyland with Mind Eraser. You obviously had Marineland in its heyday. Laurent was at its pretty much its golden period in the mid 90s to early 90s to 80s. And even Callaway Park was a new park that, had a lot going for it. And we've just seen a lot of closures, or just like parks just kind of hanging on with what they've been doing for the last 20 years. So there definitely is a change that needs to happen. I don't see any major investment coming to Canada as far as there being a new park being built here, but it does seem a bit unfair to Canadian thrill goers or amusement fans that we just don't have that great of an offering compared to stateside. That's really where you have to go. And then you go to a country that's much smaller than Canada, like Belgium in Europe. It's there's plenty of European countries that all of Scandinavia, really. They all have. I did mean Mind Bender, yes. They say Mind Eraser. I have that on my mind because it looks like I'm going to an event at Darien Lake a month from now, which is going to be very exciting. I don't want to officially announce it yet, but if anybody that's associated with that can give me the go ahead to say so, then I certainly will. But some exciting stuff going on at Darien Lake, actually, as Predator officially has a second train. Not to get off subject, but again, if you're from Canada, or at least in this region, you might consider going to Darien Lake to get an extra amount of thrills. Just going to look at the comments here. No problem for the reviews. Definitely going to see a lot more of those coming up. Very frank, going to just be honest about my opinion on certain things. There's a lot of stuff I do love, but I do have a lot to say about Wonderland. Obviously, like I said in the past, did not get an invite to Media Day, so I'm just going to be frank and objective with my opinions about that. Yes, authenticity and fairness, and ability to see the bigger picture. Thank you. That really does mean a lot. A mess, right? Quite the. I like the name, but I do want to be objective and realistic. And I think there's a lot of people that are wanting to be like, "I told you so," or put it in a laughing emoji if Alpen Fury opens in 2 weeks, which it certainly will not. But I'm just being realistic with my projections, and I think the park is being realistic too, with not announcing anything yet. And I think that's just going to be the case. Like, we're going to just have to wait and see on that one. And when the park is going to actually open up, who knows? Well, open Alpen Fury up, that is. But if you've been there and you want to look at it from a realistic perspective, and I didn't put it in my video that I try to trim out a lot of stuff too, but even with Full Throttle, and yes, it being over a decade prior to it opening, The track was a complete 2 months prior to it opening, and it also didn't open until June of the year that it debuted. So it's just being realistic. Mainly, it's a video for people like that are coming from farther afield, i.e., from Canada. I know my friends are going to the park tomorrow, which it's with their family and everything, and they planned it for weeks in advance. And I had to give them the insight that they wouldn't know otherwise because they just don't follow this news as much as we do. But obviously, it's not the new ride's not going to be open, so I had to let them know that if you have a chance to change your mind, especially with the weather not being great tomorrow, then yeah, honestly, it might be a good idea not to go say this early in the season because you just don't want to be disappointed. How many documentaries on Canada's Wonderland do you have, and have you thought about doing any on Centerville? Oddly enough, I thought about that very last point just the other day. I am going to be visiting the park again this year, and yeah, I think I might do a Centerville documentary. I don't know how much interest it will garner. Ontario Place is. I've been working on one for Ontario Place, of which I actually wrote an entire script 2 years ago until uh, I want to call it Expedition Theme Park. Is it Expedition Theme Park? Um, but they dropped their Ontario Place documentary literally the day that I was sitting down to do the narration. I haven't gone back to that script since, but there's been a lot that's happened since. In fact, Ontario Place isn't even there anymore. But I have captured a lot of footage because I still think that there's my particular perspective of that particular history that I think I should tell, especially it being really pivotal to my childhood. And one of my fondest childhood memories was going to Ontario Place and its original playground for kids back in the day. So yeah, look for that. Probably not going to hit that or broach that until the end of the year because that's going to be a pretty big project. And I have other ones that I'll mention that I've mentioned previously that are in the pipeline first. So, in an answer to the first thing about Canada's Wonderland, um, I have a couple of ride documentaries that I'm going to just kind of put together over the next couple of months. I'm not entirely sure when they're going to come out. Some take, I kind of want to get back to the way that the documentaries really were back in the past because those are the ones that I actually enjoy watching again and again. Yeah, I did like the tightness and just the obscure sort of angle that I took with, say, the Thunder Run documentary, for example. And just sort of like just kind of what I do is that I write a script and then I do the narration, but that's kind of just like the first point of the work because once I sit down to edit, and I'm thankfully getting a new computer, which is another thing that I kind of need first, which will be happening in the next week or two, which is going to take some major relief off of that because my poor computer has just not been able to keep up with my demands. The documentaries kind of come to life once all of the source material is found, and then I kind of tweak the narrative based on the feel of that footage and where it can potentially go. I really like the Skyrider documentary as well. I just found that very interesting, kind of like how you don't know what it's going to be, even when you sit down first to write it versus the final product, because it's a completely different thing than I thought that I would ever end up with. But there's obviously a big one, which is Behemoth. So that one's going to come out soon. I haven't done that documentary yet, so that will definitely be covered. I also think I'm going to go back and do one on Yukon Striker. That ride came out at the beginning of this channel, so it's kind of pivotal to the history of this channel. So it only makes sense that having a lot of coverage of that particular ride, that I think I could do that particular documentary justice. And there's a couple others that I've been thinking about. I obviously kind of want to. I think that Time Warp is done. I think my less well received video from a Wonderland perspective is that one, but I think I pretty much covered everything I needed to cover in that particular video. We've done Guardian. I definitely think that I'm going to go back and do one on Mindbuster and Wild Beast, because while Mindbuster has like kind of like a vignette history, um, sort of like a reprofiles, it was kind of like all of it's based on fact, but yeah, it was a little bit more tongue-in-cheek investigative journalism, kind of like set up like a current affair / inside edition type of perspective of that. That's kind of what I was going for with that particular video, just to be like sort of, you know, authentic to the time of which that ride opened. But those are definitely due, and I can't really justify doing one on the fly. And I don't really have, other than the deluxe edition, as I'm going to call it, of the History of Canada's Wonderland, where all the 4 parts are going to be merged into one. Um, After I do that, because it's going to be a big undertaking, I may consider doing the last 5 years. I kind of like the way that the last, you know, as much as I need to do some work on the sound of the last video, um, including writing some new compositions, because, uh, you know, just to be honest, all the music that I put into the videos, I've produced myself. So a lot of the time I'm kind of like, okay, I wrote the script and then I edited everything. And I really kind of want to have some music that does justice. And I honestly think that the Wonderland videos, I put as much work as I possibly could into those compositions as I could, um, except for, say, the last one, maybe. But I was trying to go for something a little different, which I'm going to clean up and re-put together. So, yeah, we'll see about the last 5 years. Like I said, I like the way that the last one ended. It's kind of like pretty dark of an ending, but yeah, I think it's probably one of the better pieces of content that I've produced for the channel for sure. Um, that was a lot for that question. So sorry, B-Man, getting off track, but you always hit me up with some awesome ones here. I definitely prefer that they take their time and make sure everything is done right. Yes. I'm going to Niagara Falls on Thursday. Will you still be there by then? Looks like Tuesday I'm going. Yeah, I'm definitely there on Tuesday as long as the weather is right. That's the plan. It's going to be a pretty busy day because I'm going to be going to the States. I'm going to walk across the border and cover everything that I haven't covered in the state side, do a little bit of a tour of the town. So I have like a pretty crazy schedule, something like a dozen videos planned. I'm planning on going to Falls View Water Park as well. I said I wouldn't do anything in water parks, but I think I'm going to go for it. Why not? Because I kind of need to do every attraction in Niagara to get a really comprehensive, like, what's the best things to do in Niagara coverage for the channel. And if anybody has any ideas on how to get a deal on Great Wolf Lodge, I'm open to hear them, because yeah, that one's the one that unfortunately it's going to be difficult for me to get, because it's not cheap to stay at Great Wolf Lodge. That's for sure. Hello, Mark. And yes, it was Thunder Run in my Instagram post, by the way. Yes. Choo Choo is back. I was listening for the heartbeat on my visit recently. Didn't hear anything. No improvements on the interior and the effects and everything. I'm going to remain critical about that because, as I said previously in last week's live, I believe it was, it's just kind of an injustice. Really, I don't know if we need Thunder Run's queue to be even longer, because if they do improve the interior effects, it's it's going to be quite the queue that will probably amass there that really currently they can't really handle. But you have to hail Herman every time I go. It's corny, but I love doing it. I just, I salute Herman every year. All right, we'll try to make this pretty quick because we're on the tail end of. I said it wouldn't do 2 hours, and now we've had this technical snafu. So there's other things clearly that I wanted to talk about. But yeah, I did talk about Darien Lake too, and how exciting it is to be going back there in the near future. In fact, that's exactly what I was talking about, was the fact that with Six Flags America closing, it looks like my favorite coaster model, which is the Intamin Mega and Giga models, are under threat. And we are in the sort of the autumn of those designs service life, let's say. So it looks like we're not going to be seeing those rides for much longer, which really pains me to say, but it's just the reality of it. Now, I wish I had remembered the questions from earlier so I could at least keep on point here. But I'm going to wait a second because I know that some people probably will come back to the chat here and remind me of what was going on. But yeah, so the coming season, it's going to be interesting. I was talking about some documentaries as well. This year, I have a whole slew of content that's coming down the pipe that's not in relation to, say, amusement parks and theme parks, but more historical and sort of destinations and things that I think that people should, out of curiosity, check out. Most of them free. Some of them which will take a little bit more bravery to actually check out. So now we got a couple people back here. I definitely encourage you to put your questions that I didn't get to back into the chat now that we remarkably have sound again. So yeah, hopefully, like I said, next week we will have the studio completely set up. It won't be so boring in the background, and yeah, we'll have a little bit more fun, and I won't have to like run around with all my technical issues. For someone that is involved in the past, having worked in TV for several years, yeah, it seems like I just have gremlins sometimes with the studio. I'm sure the lights are the next thing that'll probably go out. But besides Thunder Run, which rides at Wonderland would you put your money in retheming, painting, or refreshing? Do you think the SLC is worth keeping and working on? So it's getting close to the first of my 4 official videos for. I should actually mention I'm going to be going to Wonderland. Actually, these are a couple subjects that I had in Wonderland that I haven't covered yet, as my cat freaks out in the background, trying to get into the studio. So you probably hear him. The situation with Wonderland, I'm probably going to be going there 7 times, potentially 8 times this year. I've done 1 visit already. And I knew that was you, Richard. It was nice meeting you at Wonderland. And I'll just broach this subject right now. One of those visits, I believe, I'm just going to organize as an official sort of meet and greet, because I haven't met too many fans except for you, Richard, and a couple others that day. So I'm not going to film necessarily. I'm going to kind of just get some visuals earlier in the day, and then just kind of hang out in the park with people. Which I haven't done. So it's probably long overdue. I know that B-Man, if he's on the chat here, has been asking relentlessly. So I'm going to I'll post a video and make an official announcement on the date for that. I believe sometime in mid-June, potentially. When it comes down to the content that I want to film this year, there's an overriding theme that will be involved with all those videos. It's going to be something I've never done before, and something that you're not really going to be able to expect, but I kind of hinted at it before with a couple other videos and the fact that I'm not officially vlogging. That being said, I am doing the Wonder Bars vlog this year. So I'm going to try to package that not as a vlog, but I'm also going to try to see if I can manage to do it, because planning on going to visit every single bar in Wonderland. It's going to be quite an undertaking because I don't like drink going unfinished. And I'll officially today, not that it's really for here or there, is my 100th day of not having a drink. I like to take breaks once in a while. I took 2.5 years off during the pandemic. So yeah, I don't really partake too much, but at the same time, if I take a break like that, it's definitely going to hit me. But those are always fun to do, and in the second half of the day, it certainly is a lot more fun when you have a couple of beers in you. But there's a lot. I noticed that there's a lot of bars in Wonderland. Yeah, this is not what the channel is really about, but at the same time, it's something that I just want to do. So when it comes down to that question, I did ride Flight Deck 2 times in a row as my first official ride this year. I don't know. I seem to be somewhat prescient about like maybe this thing's going to be under threat soon. I really think that if Wonderland is thinking about that ride going away, that the reason why they didn't do it this year is because they didn't want to like lose a roller coaster times two and replace it only with one, or replace two roller coasters only with one. So if they say do decide to take a flight deck out, it'll probably happen the next year or two. Not many SLCs tend to leave parks, at least in North America. So they tend to move around, if anything. So we'll see what happens. They can't exactly move it on to La Ronde. It would definitely work great in, say, a park like Callaway Park, that's for sure. So let's hope that I'm going to get onto that question, Richard, in a second too. So let's hope that if it does move, that it goes somewhere, because it was still functioning perfectly fine. You know, the usual headbanging, not terrible, but yeah, you definitely have to know how to ride those rides without question if you're going to have a good time. So other rides, it's definitely not going to be Cratch Wagon. I've always said that ride's days are numbered and has to go. I think that Fly needs a retheming. Definitely now that Alpen has like a second life to it. But yeah, I'm trying to think of what other things I want to do, or if I was in charge. Soaring Timbers, I think I'm going to do a video probably to B-Man's question from earlier. I think I'm going to do a top 5 video rides and attractions that I think are under threat there. I'm not going to say Wild Beast because I still think it has a home and a place in the park. But we'll see about that one. Watch that space, because everybody kind of has been waiting for it to go for so long. But it still remains remarkably popular, so I don't know what to say about that one. And I also say the same about the Bat. It had a repaint somewhat recently, and I don't really think it's really under threat either. It still remains a pretty good, popular attraction. If they were to get rid of the Bat and Wild Beast at the same time, then obviously you have a big parcel of land that they could utilize. But even the go-karts, when I was there just recently, were very popular, and that's the most, I'd say the most popular I'd seen them in quite some time. So I don't know whether or not they're going to be leaving anytime soon either. So when you think about it, like, I don't really know if there's many rides under threat, because it seems like even the older ones they have, like Spinnovator / Coyotes Kettles, even Wild Nightmares, they just seem to live longer beyond what one would expect they would. So I really think that Crash Wagon is probably one of the next things to go. But Grand World Expo is the area that definitely looks like it's going to be getting some work did to it. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. I think that I do agree that there's probably going to be a hotel going in there soon, and the resortification of the theme park experience is where we're headed, especially with Six Flags. In most major chains, I think that's what their philosophies are now. So, yeah, I think that's what's going to be happening going forward. So, if anything, I'd say Flight Deck is probably a good Flight Deck is probably a good ride to look at as possibly being removed, despite what it is. As far as it like running pretty decent and not looking that bad as far as like its longevity and like how it looks aesthetically, I think its days are probably numbered soon. That's for sure. Why did you discount? Why did you need the discount for Great Wolf Lodge? I missed that part. Kings Island. I need the discount because it's like 200 some odd plus dollars to go. And just going on your own for really just a theme, just to try the water park is a little bit steep for my blood. It's not a huge channel. So, just to do the Skyview water park, it costs $50 or so when I'm going to go. And I think that, if I want to do a review of Great Wolf Lodge, I don't know. I'm paying $200. I'm not entirely sure, but I think that the water park is exclusive for guests only. So at the end of the day, you'd have to book in order to stay there. So it's just a little bit steep. But I'm going to try. I'm going to look into it. I may even just communicate with them and see what options there are there, because I know other vloggers and stuff have done that park. So it's definitely, if anything, then I would probably just compound it with like a review of the lodge itself. So that's definitely a thought to think about, maybe further in the future, because you can do it off season, which would probably be a good sort of idea to do, say, in the fall or early winter for sure. But I would like to get it done earlier so I could do a little retrospective of the best Niagara Falls attractions to go to too. Review the food options at theme parks. Um, well, I did actually do mini reviews of Wonderland's food at Great Bear Lodge, and I did a mini one as well as part of my Alpen Fury construction coverage from last year, early construction. That's also a bit of a big undertaking to do in one visit because there's lots of food options, that's for sure. I'm not sure if I'm a foodie channel, so it's been something that I've been on the fence about trying because all I think about when I go to Wonderland is that I want a donut sundae, which is something that, if you're in the know, hasn't been around for many a decade and was definitely the best dessert that the park ever offered, in my opinion. While the Cookie Cafe, where it was originally offered, is moved, is not the original spot there where it is, where Great Wolf or Great Bear Lodge is now. Um, but yeah, I'm thinking about it. So we'll see if I do, go to the park enough and actually eat on site enough, I might consider it. But I'm not gonna lie, when I go to the park, I usually actually leave the park, go across the street, eat in the plazas next door, and then come on back. It's kind of like a bit of a refreshing break, especially when I was in Great Bear Lodge earlier or this year for my first visit, and the line was, I don't know. It still feels like a cafeteria to me. As much as the interior and the exterior of that location is impressive for what they were going for. Um, yeah, I just feel like I'm in high school when I go into that building as far as the service is concerned. Just like the whole concept of it, and I don't know. It's an interesting one. I did do it last year. I didn't really put it on the channel because I actually found that footage just the other day, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't even post this." So I might just even compile that in with this year's content and just give you an overall food review because nothing has changed really there. There are some other food options around the park that have changed, so I'll look into that. We'll see what happens. So watch this space for sure. I think Wonderland keep flight deck to help with congestion. They need rides to help with the long lines. They definitely do. And on a slow day though, flight deck is a walk on at any time of the day. So that's kind of my justification for that one. Is that it definitely seems like it's something that or flight deck is really not as well loved as some of the other attractions, and it's just like kind of like a dormant part of the park. It really is a bit of a dead space now with time warp gone too. um, it's something that people kind of walk by or either go on once and then forget about it for the rest of the day. It's not something that really yeah, people like are desperate to go on, or even if it goes, I think that it won't really be much missed, that's for sure. um, aren't all S&S legacy old rides in danger? Well, it depends on what you think about when it comes to Steel Curtain, I guess, which just reopened, which I'm hoping to get on this year because I've been to Kennywood twice now in the past 3 years and didn't get on Steel Curtain for obvious reasons. Um, I'm just hoping that they still have a two-train service by the time that I do manage to get there. If I do, hopefully do, or if I do, hopefully this year, because that's been the biggest frustration with that ride is that the wait is just astronomical with the issues that they've been having. I have been on it before and I enjoyed it immensely, but it's been so long that I just don't even know. Uh, the experience of it is just not fresh enough to memory for me to actually give a completely justifiable review. If, say, by the end of this year, I do a top 10 list or top 20, 25 coasters list, I don't think it's going to break into that, but it would certainly be nice to objectively be able to know whether or not it deserves to be or not. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get on that this year. And also, if I do, I'll probably try to get to Kings Island no matter what. I'm trying to get to Kings Island no matter what. Anyway, I love that park. It's still, um, to me, still retains a lot of the character of how Wonderland was for me in the past. And I've only been on Orion once, which is shocking to believe. But every time I go there, I guess it's just because, Mystic Timbers is just calling all the time. And I just end up trying to get as many rides as I can on that because I completely love that ride. And obviously at Nightfall, it's the beast. What else are you going to do? I've been blessed with a lot of night rides on the Beast. I haven't been on it since some of its track work of the past years, so definitely looking for that. Um, yeah, I'm going to talk. I should talk about Thunder Twister because I did go on that. In my first visit, I did get a lot of rides in there. So, uh, aerodynamics rides kind of covered that before, but it's like, we can't really deny that they are all under threat. Those of them that are still surviving, we are thankful and blessed that they are. I remember talking to my Belgian friend that I met on the day that I went to Wonderland, and he was like, "Oh, we have an aerodynamics in Belgium," and I was like, "I don't think you do, at least not anymore." Because yeah, even just trying to think of any arrows in Europe in general is almost non-existent. So yeah, I love those rides. Going to be on Viper very soon, but now Viper is that much more unique for what it is, and obviously Dragonfire, which I did go on, but that was kind of a one and done for me. Although shout outs to the girl that I sat with that was marathoning it because that's kind of cool. That even the young generation are still appreciating that ride for what it is because it is a great ride. It's a historic ride. It's a ride that deserves a documentary, no doubt, coming soon. So yeah, definitely love it. Indeed, I am back. Flight Deck might get Screammore's trains from Six Flags America. Yeah, that's possible. I definitely would like the new trains, that's for sure. I didn't get on T2 while it was still standing, unfortunately. I would have liked to have gotten it, but it was since closed, and then obviously it was removed. But it would definitely benefit from that. Who knows? He might be going to Laurent as well, Laurent. But we'll see about that because yeah, I don't know how long we want to hold on to these SLCs. Never think of or don't forget about Michigan's Adventure 2. That's pretty much the biggest thrill ride other than uh, Shivering Timbers that they have. So Thunder Twister was definitely a flop. It's a walk on all the time. I think also the park doesn't like the fact that I was one of the first to mention that. But it is what it is. I don't think that's a secret with anyone that's been on it. It was an ambitious project. It was a contractual obligation they just had to fulfill, and they got a prototype ride that unfortunately did not fulfill on its potential to be all that thrilling. It's a cool ride. Don't get me wrong. The views are great. The cycle time is ridiculously short now too. So I'm not so big of a fan of that, especially with the complications of load in and offloading for that ride. They usually now, the day that I was there, they were only loading one side of it. So, yeah, I think it has more potential than what it delivers. But unfortunately, I think that if it were busier, they would just keep it on the same cycle anyway, which is unfortunate. Well, starting to lose light here, so I got to hurry up and do the wrap up here. But I'll try to get to these questions first. Um, I don't know if I was able to cover that while I had sound earlier about Dragon Mountain, but it certainly looks like it's under threat. The park needs to open, period. I think that if it stays dormant for like 2 to 3 years, which we're getting on to now, hello, the cat is here, um, that it might be in trouble. So I think that yeah, watch that space because I am definitely worried about the future of that ride. I definitely hope that I haven't had my last ride on it, but at the same time, it's been pretty well maintained and lovingly maintained by the park. I will admit that, but yeah, it's going to be difficult because they're definitely not going to invest anything if they can't afford to open the park, period, and getting that ride back up to its best. So hopefully we'll get a ride on it this year. But like I said from before, if you get the chance and it does open, then definitely get down to ride it because I do not know whether or not it's going to be around for much longer, which it pains me to say, but it's just the reality of the situation here. Do you think Action Zone is in need of a retheme, or should they double down on the area's concept and give it more personality? There's no area in the park that I just despise more than Action Zone. It's just a hearkening of what was a section of the park that they just couldn't figure out. They should have kept it all Grand World Expo, as far as I'm concerned. And I'd like to see them get back to that and actually make the entire park Grand World Expo, or at least that section of the park Grand World Expo again. because there's just not much to Action Zone other than just basically being an area that highlights Behemoth, and obviously Cliffhanger, or sorry, Sledgehammer, and Cyclone. But the animals are getting restless down at my feet here. But yeah, it definitely needs another breath of life. I don't know what they're going to do. I also hate those yellow structures behind Rockets and the washroom. I don't know what they are, but they've been sitting there forever. I guess they're spare parts for the slingshot ride or something like that. But yeah, it's definitely time that something happens there, and it's without question in my thinking the next area of the park that's going to have a look at or a refresh for sure. Yes, my meetup should be in time for Alpen Fury and Mindbuster without question. But I'm going to try to get these cats out of the way to wrap this up soon. So yeah, definitely I'll try to time it for that. But based on my predictions, Alpen won't be open until Canada Day weekend. And I usually don't go in August because it's just too hot and just too crazy at the park. I do have fast lane, but it wouldn't be fair to have a meetup on a day when other people don't have fast lane. But watch this space. Hopefully Mindbuster will be soon. So if that does happen soon, then I definitely will get everyone involved in a meetup very soon on that. Six Flags Investors Day was today. They want comfortable, crowded parks. They also seem to want to focus on 15 of their parks. Yeah, so part of the original talk was about Matt Ouimet's comments in regards to Six Flags. So I'm not going to go on to that again, other than to say that, it's difficult times coming up for the park. Trying to make sure the cat doesn't knock over the light here. But yeah, I just don't have full faith in Six Flags Entertainment when it comes down to the future of these parks. But, I'm optimistic. Hopefully it will be okay. But at the same time, based on my experience at all the Six Flags parks, I'd say with the exception of Six Flags St. Louis, I had an amazing time and I was really surprised about how good it was. Yeah, there's definitely some problems going forward. That all being said, it's not officially a Six Flags park, but Darien Lake is a great park to visit, if even just for a short time, because if you're there on a slow day, it's not really a full day's undertaking. But they have a great haunt event, and clearly the people that are involved with the operations of it do love working at that park. It's unlike any of the experiences that you get at other Six Flags. I'm trying to get to Six Flags over Georgia this year because it's one of the final parks that I have to visit. And I'm expecting some Farewell Buddy Club, and we're going to wrap up very soon too here. But yeah, it's when the further you go south, the more difficult it is going to some of those Six Flags parks because just from an experience standpoint with the crowds, yeah, it can be a little much if you're not if you're faint of heart. Yeah, it's definitely sometimes a very challenging experience. I'll just leave it at that. So I think that they really need to work on that aspect of the parks and just beef up security. I said it. I think I said it during my live from the park, but yeah, security was pretty evident at Wonderland this year. So they've definitely made some investiture there. I'll say that much. And even had there was a lot of spot sweepers out as well. So, I've always been very critical of the duplicitousness of spot sweepers. They are what they are. They do what they need to do, but they're not just there for cleanup of the pathways. I'll say that much. Knowing one particular influencer who was a spot sweeper just last season. So that kind of was the direct giveaway of the fact that they're there to do something else. And my friend who worked for the park too mentioned that was a fact. So yeah, so Vortex was fantastic every time, just knocks it out of the park. Really, I wasn't supposed to talk just about Wonderland today, but it is what it is. But yeah, fantastic ride. I love it. That's the one arrow that when it goes, like even the bat at Kings Island, if it's under threat, I really kind of got to get down there to do marathons of it because it's a decent ride as well. Obviously the same design to a pretty close standard. But yeah, nothing really beats Vortex. It's just a fantastic ride. the way it's been grown into its landscape, it's going to be quite overwhelming if you do get a drop with Alpen Fury twisting over you in that first element or the first drop of that ride. But they've clearly built Alpen Fury with the consideration that Vortex is going to be there for some time. So at the end of the day, it's probably not going anywhere anytime soon. And yes, I rode it in its opening day back when it opened in 1990. So I still have the news clipping. It was a fantastic ride. Fantastic. Love it. But yeah, I think I better wrap this up because all of the animals in this room are getting quite upset with me saying this live has gone too far, but at least we have sound. So thank you everyone for joining me. I apologize for the earlier live going all off the wire. Probably going to have to merge these two together to make it a little bit more streamlined. And we'll have a lot to talk about next week because not only will I have probably been to Niagara Falls by then, there's no doubt going to be some news about Alpen Fury and Mindbuster by then too. And maybe other surprise news because I haven't actually checked out that Six Flags call, which I should probably sometime after this and find out some information about that too. But yeah, stay tuned as well because, like I said, some meetups coming. And yes, I appreciate you. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you for dealing with the technicals. Next week, we'll have them all sorted out, and we won't have this snafu as we had today. But for now, until next time, definitely, guys, enjoy your trips to your respective parks. Get them in. Appreciate your coasters, and we'll see you soon.